G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy and you're watching Gallery Aquatica TV. We're continuing our series Epic Reef Tanks and Why They Work. And in this series we're taking you to some of the best reef tanks in Australia to see just why these tanks are so good. And we've got a really special tank today. It's a long-term client of ours, Jamie's tank, and it's been featured on Reef Builders. It's been seen tens of thousands of times on YouTube. And it's a really beautiful tank. Now, one of the special things about this tank is that there's a lot of attention to detail with the composition of the colours and the shapes of the corals. And as you can see, the house is absolutely beautiful, and Jamie really has a flair for interior decorating, and this is one of the reasons why his tank is so good. He's been able to use the concepts of interior decorating to really aquascape the tank in a way that shows off the shapes and colours of the coral. So anyway, let's check this tank out and see if you agree that it's one of the best tanks you'll ever see. It's just over here. So this tank has been running for well and truly over 10 years, and you can see that with a lot of the corals. They're nice, large, mature colonies, and that's one of the reasons why the composition of the corals looks so good. We've got some large colonies of Pectinia. We've got some large acros like the Dallas acro that you can see. There's a really nice Bacillopora. We've got lots of acans, a huge colony of candy cane. We don't often see them that large. There's zoas mixed in, really showing variety of colours of the zoas next to each other. And I love this colony. It's a large lithophyllon. Now this colony has been in this tank for at least 10 years. And growing into its position, its shape has really grown to match the spot that it's in, and it's an awesome piece of coral. We've got this incredible torch coral. It's not often you see them this large, and it's sensational. We've got more acants, more Bacillopora. We've also got the two colours of the Pavona. We've got the sunburst and the green. Side by side, they look really, really good. This is one of my favourites here too. This large Bacillopora. It almost looks like a bonsai, and being such a mature colony, it's a really nice piece. But probably my favourite of all the corals in this tank are down the end here. Tubastria, or sun coral. Now, if you look at the way these colonies have formed, they've actually spawned in the tank, and the juvenile colonies of the Tubastria have attached to the base of the wave makers, so the magnet that holds the wave maker in place. And as they've grown, the wave maker has been removed, and so effectively now what we have here are colonies of the Tubastria, which are just on the magnets and can be put wherever they want. But they do so well in this position because this is where the water is drawn past, bringing the food particles to the Tubastria. Really special corals, and the best thing about this tank in my opinion. So the fish are all in hiding at the moment because we're standing over the tank, but we've got a couple of large tangs. There's a large yellow tang, an Atlantic blue tang, a few little bits and pieces. Being such an old tank, some of the fish have actually passed on through old age, and I think it's probably time for a few new fish to be put into the tank. But otherwise, the tank is looking really good, and so now we'll just have a look at the filtration, the lighting, and some of the maintenance and we'll explain to you why this tank is so good. So let's have a look at the lighting. This tank is 8 feet long, it's 2 feet wide, and it's 2.5 feet tall. So it's a very deep tank, and what we've got for the lighting are 6 radions which have been mounted on a rail above the tank. The tank sits off the wall probably about 30 centimeters, about a foot off the wall, and all the power supplies are down behind the tank. But this lighting program that we've got running, I think it's the AB Plus, is doing wonders for the coral, and the radions are giving good penetration right to the bottom of the tank. So next we'll look at the wave makers. So there's 1, 2, 3 wave makers on this side. So we've got a mix of wave makers. Probably the wave maker doing the most, particularly in terms of drawing the food past these sun corals, is an Ecotech Vortec MP60 down the bottom. So down the other end of the tank, there's also a number of wave makers. A couple more of the Ecotechs. These are the smaller models, the MP40. And with just the water flow from both sides of the tank, with this end being more towards the front of the tank and the ones down the other end towards the back of the tank, it gives good water flow around the structure. It's always important to ensure that the water flow that you use and the wave makers that you use complements the structure of the tank. And given that the structures are kind of off the back of the tank, it does make it easier to create that nice wave, that nice water flow. So with a lot of the tanks that we'll be showing in this series, Epic Tanks and why they work, the filtration systems are massive, they're highly complex with the type of dosing systems, protein skimmers, everything that's running the filtration system. But this tank is a little bit different. It's a very basic filtration system, and we'll have a look at it just in here. The water drains down through the overflow immediately into a refugium. Now, there's not a lot of keto growth, and really it's not acting as a strong nutrient export system. The second stage of the sump. We've got a wet-dry trickle filter. Now, this type of filtration system is not commonly used these days. It can potentially push some of the organics into nitrate a little bit more quickly than you'd want. And after the wet-dry trickle filter, we've got what I would say is a very basic protein skimmer. Now, this tank has been running for well over 10 years, and this protein skimmer has been in this tank that whole time. They were very popular protein. It's the Turbo Floater 3000, which was a very popular protein skimmer back in the day. But these days, with all the engineering and all the different types of protein skimmers, it's not common that you see something like this in such a beautiful tank. So a relatively basic filtration system, which sort of does pose a question, why does this tank work so well? And we'll show you exactly why in a minute. One of the things I love about this tank is how beautifully clean it always is. Every time I see it. Jamie has done a beautiful job with the algae. Now, you may notice that the back of this tank is actually perfectly clean. So how would you keep a tank this size without any algae on the back glass? Well, Jamie has come up with an ingenious solution to this problem, and I'll show you what it is. It's a magnet cleaner attached to a stick. So with this, you can clean the back of the tank very, very easily. How good is that? So with most of the tanks that we look after, we have dosing systems that are set up to automatically dose calcium, KH and magnesium into the tank. A lot of these tanks also have other dosing pumps that will feed trace elements, amino acids and the like into the tank. This tank is different. This tank is manually dosed, and it's really only dosed on 2 products. We've got the Reef Advantage Calcium, which is calcium and magnesium and strontium. And we've got Reef Builder, which is basically a carbonate hardness generator. So a very basic system. These are dosed into the tank when we do the water change, and once or twice a week throughout the week in between water changes. There's also a very good quality amino acid, the Reef Essentials Coral Power Amino. This is a very concentrated amino acid, and typically this tank is dosed 2 or 3 times a week with the amino. In terms of the feeding, Reef Roids is the only coral food going into this tank, and the fish are fed on frozen foods, mysis shrimp, brine shrimp, marine green. So it's very basic. And so again, the question is, why is this tank doing so well? And so that is what we'll tell you right now. So why does this tank work so well? So it's not the filtration system or the dosing. The reason this tank does so well is because of the maintenance we do to this tank, which might not make a lot of sense. How can the maintenance make such a difference? But the reason is we do very large water changes on this system. We do 95% water change every 3 weeks. Now this is a 1,000 litre tank. So we're talking about over 900 litres water changed every 3 weeks. We drain this tank all the way down to the point that the larger fish are basically on their side, and then we fill it straight back up again. So the reason why this works is because this acts as effectively a way of continuing stability with the water chemistry. It means that we're effectively exporting all the nutrients out of the system, the nitrate, the phosphate, and we're also stabilizing trace elements. But this tank really is a basic system with good water flow, good lighting. It's the maintenance as to why this tank does so well.
So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.